Karen demanded my first-class seat, got escorted off the plane. I, 29M, recently flew cross-country for work. My company upgraded me to first class as a perk, and honestly, it was a dream. I don't usually get that kind of luxury, so I was hyped. I boarded early, stowed my bag, and settled in. That's when she appeared. A woman in her 40s, with the haircut you're picturing, stormed down the aisle dragging her teen son. She stopped at my row and said loudly, "Excuse me, you're in our seats." I double-checked my ticket. Nope. Seat 2A. My name was right there. I said, "Sorry, this is my seat." She scoffed, waving her boarding passes in my face. They said 23C and 23D, way back in economy. I pointed it out. She rolled her eyes. "Well, we need these seats. My son gets anxious." "You can switch." I told her calmly, "Sorry, I paid for this seat." She snapped, "So selfish." "You're a grown man." "He's a child." The kid looked like he was 15. Not exactly a toddler. I braced myself, because I knew this was just the beginning. Karen launched into a rant about courtesy and how real gentlemen give up their seats. I stayed polite. "I'm sorry, I can't switch." She huffed, "Fine, we'll see about that," and flagged a flight attendant. The FA checked her ticket, then mine. She smiled at me apologetically. "Ma'am, your seats are in economy. This gentleman is in the correct seat." Karen exploded. "But my son can't sit back there. He needs space." "He'll panic." The FA said, "I understand, but these are assigned seats." Karen folded her arms and planted herself in the aisle, blocking traffic. People behind her started grumbling. She spun around, yelling, "This man stole our seats." Passengers craned their necks, annoyed. The FA repeated, firmer, "Ma'am, you need to move." Karen sneered at me, then leaned toward her son and whispered loudly, "Don't worry, sweetheart. Some people are just heartless." The boy muttered, "Mom, let's just go." She ignored him, glaring at me like I'd committed a crime. Finally, the FA threatened to call the gate agent. Karen stomped her foot, but shuffled back toward economy, muttering curses. I thought it was over. Wrong. 10 minutes later, as passengers were still boarding, she marched back up, this time with another FA in tow. "He refused to give up his seat," she said, pointing at me like I was a criminal. The new FA checked everything again. Same conclusion. I was right. She was wrong. Karen switched tactics. "Look, just bump him to business class, or give him a voucher. He doesn't need first class. We do." The FA looked stunned. "That's not how it works." Karen snarled. "Then upgrade me." "You expect a mother and child to suffer back there while strangers sit up here in luxury?" At this point, the cabin was buzzing. Everyone in first class was watching. Some economy passengers were craning their necks. Karen was staging a show. I sat there, gripping the armrest, praying she'd sit down already. The purser head flight attendant finally intervened. Calm but firm, she said, "Ma'am, if you don't sit in your assigned seats, you will be removed from this flight." Gasps rippled through the cabin. Karen's face turned crimson. She jabbed her finger at me. "Why you are humiliating me in front of my son?" I kept my mouth shut. Anything I said would fuel her fire. The purser held her ground. "This is your last warning." Karen dragged her son back, hissing, "Unbelievable. Absolute discrimination." The rest of boarding went smoothly. I relaxed, thinking that was the end. But as soon as the seatbelt sign went off after takeoff, Karen appeared again. This time, she leaned over my seat and whispered, "When you sleep, I'm taking this spot. You'll regret crossing me." My jaw dropped. I hit the call button. The FA arrived, and I explained. Karen tried to deny it, but another passenger nodded and said, "I heard her." That was it, strike 3. The FA told her, "Ma'am, you are not allowed to approach first class again." Karen snapped, I PAA-8 for this flight. I'll go where I want. The FA's smile vanished. If you continue, we'll have to involve the captain. Karen stomped back, dragging her son with her. The boy looked mortified. Poor kid. For the next hour, I tried to enjoy my seat, the warm meal, the legroom, but I felt eyes burning into the back of my head. Every time I glanced back, Karen was glaring at me from row 23, mouthing things like thief and selfish. Other passengers rolled their eyes. One even whispered, "Don't let her ruin your flight." Midway through, turbulence hit. Drinks spilled, people gasped. And in the chaos, Karen tried again. She darted up the aisle. This time, the purser physically blocked her. "Return to your seat, now, W," Karen screamed. "This is harassment." The whole plane turned to watch. The captain himself came out of the cockpit. That's when things got real. Calmly, he said, "Ma'am, this is your final warning. Interfere with the crew again, and we'll divert." Karen shrank back, but kept ranting about privileges and entitlement. The captain looked at me, apologized, and said, "Sir, thank you for your patience." Then he told Karen, "If I hear one more complaint, you will not fly today." Karen finally sat down, seething. Her son hid his face in embarrassment. The rest of the flight was peaceful, except for the occasional hissed insult from row 23. I ignored it, sipping my free champagne, savoring every second of her defeat. When we landed, the drama wasn't over. Police officers were waiting at the gate. Word had spread through the crew, and apparently they'd radioed ahead. Karen's jaw dropped as they stepped on board. The officers asked Karen to step aside. She shrieked, "I did nothing wrong." Passengers booed. Some clapped. Her son muttered, "Mom, please stop." They escorted her off, still ranting. As I walked out, people patted me on the back, saying things like, "Good job not giving in," and she got what she deserved. The flight attendants apologized again, but I told them, "You handled it perfectly." Outside the gate, I saw Karen arguing with the officers, pointing at me, yelling that I stole her seat. The officers didn't even look at me. They just shook their heads. I walked away grinning. That night, I posted the story online. Responses flooded in. People called her Plain Karen. Some shared similar encounters. Turns out, entitlement really does fly coach. Since then, I've replayed that flight in my head. Part of me still feels bad for her son. He didn't deserve that embarrassment. But his mom? She brought it on herself. She thought the world owed her first class just for existing. People asked if I'd ever give up my seat in another situation. Honestly, yes, if it were a mom with a baby, or someone disabled, or an actual emergency. But a healthy teenager and his entitled mom? No way. So, Reddit, was I wrong for standing my ground and keeping the seat I paid for? Or was this just a classic case of karma at 35,000 feet? Update. A week later, I got an email from the airline thanking me for my patience during a disruptive incident. They gave me 20,000 bonus miles. Even better, a friend sent me a TikTok. Someone had filmed Karen being escorted off the plane. It went viral. Comments roasted her. First class in her imagination. Feel bad for the kid, not the mom. Word around my complex, small world, is that Karen actually lives a few blocks from me. She's now infamous as Plain Karen. As for me, I've got enough miles for another upgrade, hopefully next time without the drama.